And welcome to another episode of the Rebel Radio podcast. And it feels like I just said that. It's kind of a short week, recording a little bit quicker after the last episode. Or will it feels that way? It's just been a very strangely long week, but also short. Does that even make sense? It's like
that makes
the time
sense.
has flown by, but yet the work days have felt long. Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, my feet hurt. I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad I'm sitting on my butt doing this podcast. my paludes are a little sore. You know, do people still say paludes? My mom used to call them paludes.
I've never heard that before.
Never heard that? My paludes. It's like a term for feet. Quentin Tarantino probably knows that term. Come on now.
He probably does.
He likes.
Oh yeah,
because
he likes meat.
He has this thing.
He's like, for no reason, Salma Hayek. I want you to put your foot in my mouth and pour liquor down your foot and your leg.
Yeah.
Don't shower beforehand.
We have to watch Uma Thurman or some foot model's toes wiggle for 5 minutes.
Wiggle your big toe. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird.
Him and feet.
But oh man, yeah, it is a strange.
I always tell the
obsession
wife, you think butt stuff is weird. Foot stuff is weirder.
Yeah, I don't like feet, man. The feet are weird. I'm not. It's not my thing.
Yep.
No, I don't like my feet touched. I don't want to touch feet. It's like no.
Yeah,
no, not into feet stuff. Yeah. I'm just gonna stay away from that.
I'm just gonna stay away.
I mean,
I'm not going anywhere with this.
No, yeah. But man, how are you, Matt?
I am good. I'm doing much better. Just watching. I've been eating like crap, so I've been doing the opposite of what I did last week. Last week I overdid it on the workout. This week I haven't been working out at all, and I've been eating like crap. So it's been great.
Yeah, that's great. After a mini hospital stay, you don't eat right. What a bum.
Yeah,
you
got to be a bum.
I've ate okay, but I've got to get back on the workout regime. That's my plan for next week. I'm hoping after Easter, and now that we're not done with baseball yet, but we're we've got a couple weeks of practice and playoffs, so we may be done in a couple weeks, and I will have more free time. I've got to get back on that workout. I picked up a tub of protein powder today because HEB had a really good deal on the muscle milk protein powder. They have $5 off. So got the big old tub for like $17. I was like, I needed something. So I hope it's good. I've never had the muscle milk powder. Hopefully it tastes good. So
it's solid. Muscle milk's solid.
It's low sugar. I always have to get the low sugar powders and so get back on that protein regime. I'm a believer in that, man. I really do. Protein definitely gives you more energy. And the right protein. You can't just go scoop of peanut butter regardless. It's fine, you can do that, but you can't do that all the time. You have to have proper protein. So yeah. And so I got to get back on that. And but yeah, man, I'm feel okay. Like I said, I'm just tired. Work has just been exhausting this week. And one more day. This we're recording on Thursday night. Then next week I'll work 4 days and then take a Friday off. So and you'll be off next weekend. So we watch the social media, but chances are we're going to take a break. We haven't taken a break in a while, so you may not. After today, you might not hear our wonderful, sexy voices for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can live with that. But we only take 2 or 3 breaks a year, and we might be doing one here. It just makes sense. It feels like the right time, so we can recharge our batteries going into the month of May, and then Comic Palooza in June, and things like that. So. We can get ready to roll with some solid flicks. We've got some good movies, I think, coming up. I haven't even revealed them to Matt yet, but I've got some good ones in the pipeline.
There we go.
We're going to do another revisits episode. Like we kicked off we ended the year where we revisited Batman 89, even though we had previously covered it. We covered it for a second time. And we've got another one. It's going to be a nod to a movie that we did at Comic Palooza, and we both agreed that it was not our best coverage because of the sound issues and everything else. And So we're probably going to go back our next revisit episode sometime in May. It'll probably be Big Trouble in Little China. I'll just go ahead and throw that out there. We're going to go and we're going to reshoot. We're going to re-talk about that cult classic. So some good stuff coming up on the Rubber Radio podcast in our 11th year of existence and countdown to 500 episodes. And we're almost to 450. This is what, 442 or something like that. So we're going to keep our tradition of every 150th, 250, 350. So with 450, it looks like we will be finishing off the Indiana Jones saga with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, since that's the only one we have not covered. Continue that tradition of doing a Indiana Jones movie on those 50 marks. So some good stuff coming up. Couple of spoilers there, So some fun movies on their way. But before we get into anything we watched this week, which isn't much for me, but we have some news, man. We start as we speak. It's like 9:50 our time. So it is morning in Japan. Star Wars Celebration is going on right now in Japan. And so we got a couple of reveals today. One that wasn't major, or tonight, I should say. We got the announcement that the Mandalorian movie is definitely going to be called The Mandalorian Grogu, which I really thought they would change that title, but they're not. And it's going to be coming out Memorial Day weekend of next year. And we got a logo teaser. And no news on the Rey movie or anything like that, but we got an announcement for a movie called Star Wars Starfighter. I don't know if this is the long in the works Patty Jenkins film or what it is. I saw this literally with minutes before we recorded, so I did not look up anything on it, but it doesn't seem like there were any other announcements behind it besides just the title of Star Wars Starfighter. I wonder if it even has an IMDb page yet. I don't, that would be amazingly fast, but you never know. This is the internet world we live in. Let's see, Star Wars Starfighter. And there isn't. Oh, this is the Ryan Gosling movie that was rumored that he was going to star in, directed by Sean Levy. Okay. So I guess that's happening. Remember, there was a rumor that Sean Levy, of Stranger Things fame and producer for Deadpool, Wolverine and stuff, was going to do a Star Wars movie, and it looks like he is. So what has he directed? Let's see. He looks like he directed. So he directed Deadpool Wolverine. Okay. Deadpool Wolverine, The Atom Project. Okay. So yeah. So Sean Levy's Star Wars movies are. Yeah. So his Star Wars movies are a real thing. I remember him being attached to a possible Star Wars movie, but I never heard any movement on it. And I guess it's further along than we thought. If it's coming out in 2 years.
Yeah. No, that's exciting. Obviously, Stranger Things. He's done. That's very popular, and we're still awaiting the last season before they all turn 30 years old over there on the Stranger Things cast. But the Atom Project was very fun. It wasn't great, but fun and entertaining. So I think he could definitely do a Star Wars film.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. And we'll see if anything else comes out this weekend. You never know what Dave Filoni might have in the works, and throughout there's always rumors of him doing, new animated stuff, things like that. So exciting though with Star Wars Celebration going on is it's a big weekend. It's Star Wars Celebration. It's Easter across the world for celebrating Easter this weekend. WrestleMania is this weekend. It's a good, exciting pop culture weekend with stuff on the horizon. So hopefully there's more Star Wars announcements that we can talk about when we return next week or the week after, whatever we decide to do. And we also got today a new trailer for Fantastic Four First Steps. Okay, it's better than the first trailer. I do think that. But it still just doesn't have me I'm not hyped for this, man. I'm not excited. There's some cool moments. I think Silver Surfer looks kind of cool. It's interesting that it's a female, which fanboys are crying about that. It doesn't really bother me. It's cool as long as you have the essence of the character. It doesn't really bother me.
Yeah.
Seeing the Galacticus, what threw me off is the end of the trailer. The Galacticus steps looked like, I don't know, man, they looked fake or weird. It was like a Lego steps. I don't know. There's something weird about those steps of his giant feet at the end of the movie. And
it's Lego Galacticus.
They went really fast, right?
Yeah.
Like when I'm thinking Galacticus, I'm thinking like monsters like Godzilla, like moving really slow. And he's just sort of stomping through the city like it's a casual walk for him. And it was I don't know, it was weird. I love the costume. I love the aesthetic and the look of the film taking place in like the 1960s. And I think it's obvious by now this is some sort of multiverse film because there's no mention in the Avengers movies about this thing attacking the Earth, 40 years earlier, and there's no Fantastic Four helping us fight Thanos. So I mean, there's obviously something there with that. But I like the family dynamic looked interesting. Like they got the idea of the Fantastic Four is, and I don't know, I'm just not pumped, but I'm not like I'm not hating on it either. I think it can be good. I think it's kind of a wait and see.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those films that you're optimistic about it, but it's the franchise has thrown more interceptions than they have touchdowns lately.
Right.
This isn't the 2010s anymore, so it's it's definitely something that's not at the top of my list to go see. I might be more inclined to see it versus Thunderbolts. But it's definitely Superman, Mission Impossible.
And I'm kind of old school. Like if it's a tentpole film, like this is supposed to be your next big Avengers project, right? It's like why is it like just like middle, like July 17th, a week after Superman, whatever it is? Why is it not July 4th weekend or Memorial Day weekend? And I get you don't want to go up against Mission Impossible, but why? Maybe Thunderbolts should be in July. Why is Fantastic Four not coming out in early May? It just feels like it should be a bigger deal for a tentpole release. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how I feel about it. Maybe it has to do something with the continuity that Thunderbolts has to come out first. But I don't know.
Maybe so. Maybe they're going to try and tie it in somehow. Maybe post-credit scene, there's going to be something at the end of Thunderbolts. I definitely think it's smart to not release so close to Superman. You definitely want to release the week after or 2 weeks after. So, I think, Last Action Hero, we learned from Last Action Hero, don't release the same weekend as Jurassic Park. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully it's, it gives us a good look and sets up some cool stuff going forward for the MCU and, maybe tie in Multiverse of Madness so that movie doesn't seem so pointless either. Hopefully it can tie in multiple things. But yeah, we'll see where it goes, man. I don't know if I'll jump to see it. I might wait to see if it comes out on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But
we'll just have to wait and see, man. But all I know is I want the where is our Avatar trailer? That's what I want to know. Hopefully soon. And not only that, I mean, I know we got the extended trailer last week, but James Gunn has confirmed on his Instagram that the next Superman trailer is in the editing room right now, and we should have it very soon. So, more look at that and James Cameron's next Avatar film. So it's all happening. But yeah, that was a bit of news that we got this week. Really, just that trailer, man, and we'll get into some things we watch. I'll be honest, man, with such a quick week in baseball, I didn't watch much. I did watch the second episode of GCUCK Gundam. I don't know why it's titled that. But man, it's someone said it. I don't know if it's imported from Japan, but I don't know, man. It's all I know is it's on Prime, and Prime calls it a Prime exclusive. But I like it so far through 2 episodes. The second episode has a lot of really good Gundam action in it. It's really well animated. It introduced new characters in the second episode. So the 2 girls that you're introduced in the first episode actually aren't seen in the second episode, but you can feel their story threads there that they're going to tie it all together as to why they introduced this new character in the second one. But if you're into Gundam robot action, man, it's definitely I think worth checking out. And for anybody who likes that kind of stuff, man, and didn't know that there was a new Gundam series on Amazon Prime. Mobile Suit Gundam GQUX, what it's called. And apparently it's going to run 12 episodes. But see, it's labeled as a 2025 series. That's why I don't think this is an imported imported show. From what I've read, it looks like it's a Prime exclusive, but it's very good so far, man. I recommend it. And that's how much I slacked this week, man. That's really all I watched. Other than my usual watching WWE Monday Night Raw, and other than that, I just haven't had time. And we had Waverly had a school program Tuesday. We had a baseball game last night. Just really haven't had time to sit down. I really want to watch the first episode of The Last of Us. Just haven't had a chance.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't make it to The Last of Us. But
well, what happened Sunday night? I actually had time. I kind of forgot it premiered, and I'm like, hey, it's 9:15. I'm like, Michael, do you want to watch this? And he's like, man, I'm kind of tired, Dad. I go, yeah, me too, man. We'll try to watch it tomorrow. Then tomorrow came, we just haven't watched it yet. And so because he usually watches it with me, so hopefully this weekend we'll get it watched in between watching WrestleMania. But sometimes I have to throw the little kids out of the room and say, hey, your brother watching Last of Us.
No, I did catch the episode. I almost didn't because I saw on Facebook that off an advertisement that it was now streaming, and then I tried to go to HBO Max, and it wasn't streaming yet. And I was like, "Is there a certain time that it's?"
It's like 8 o'clock our time or something.
Yeah, and it even advertised that it was now streaming, but then it wasn't. Like, it didn't give me the option to go to season 2, but after 9 o'clock, after we put the kids to bed, it showed up, and I was like, I'm watching this. And I fell asleep. I was tired. My sleep schedule was thrown off over the weekend, but I did watch it Monday morning and checked it out, and I enjoyed the episode. I haven't seen. I never played the games. So I don't have a vested interest in what the continuity of the characters are. But what I've seen so far from people who have played the game and who like the character of Joel is they feel like he's kind of been watered down. He's a little whiny because, in this episode, he's kind of emotional. And such in a certain way. I don't want to ruin it for you, but they feel like, maybe they don't like the way they're going with his character. There is, though, praise from other people that there's a scene in this show that is almost tit for tat what happens in the game at a celebration. So, people like that. So some people like some of it. Some people don't like some of it. It's an hour-long first episode. I think it kind of lines out how this season's going to go. I'm excited. I'm excited for the rest of it. And, I thought it was a solid first episode. No complaints. But again, I know, whenever I watch something that's Resident Evil based, because I was such a big fan of the Resident Evil franchise, I'm usually pretty critical of Resident Evil movies and shows and whatnot. And I can kind of, empathize with some of the people that voice their concerns about these characters. Are they true? I'll have to wait till you watch it, Mark, because I'll have to go off of what you say. But yeah, other than that, I think it's a solid first episode. I think I like where it's going to go. And other than that, I did watch the season finale of Daredevil. It does look like they are definitely going that way with the Punisher, like I thought. At the end, it reveals that there's that group of basically overpowered Fisk police force that has the Punisher logo painted on them, and Frank is disgusted with them, and that's kind of how it ends. He hasn't really say, "Oh, I'm ripping off the skull. I'm not gonna use guns anymore." But that's what happens in that comic. He's disgusted with this group that has basically violated his logo, used it for their killings, put it on their shells, Punisher logos on their shells, on their chest. Instead of Batman joking about it and carrying on, the Punisher is likely going to switch to katanas and axes. Bunny rabbits. We'll throw bunnies at these guys.
That's why when I first saw that logo, I couldn't help but for some reason I saw a bunny rabbit. I'm like, what is this?
A Rorschach test. But Daredevil is back and Fisk is back. Vigilanteism is outlawed and New York is under martial law, and that's how it ends. So
I heard there's like twists with Fisk in it too, like a character twist.
Yeah, there's a bit of a character twist with Fisk. I'll let you watch it because he's like a good bad guy or something.
Right.
It's like he wants to be good, but he's going about it a bad way.
He's not mayor, is he? In this version,
he is mayor. Mayor.
Okay.
Yeah, he became mayor. And he's I don't know what to think about him. Sometimes I'm like, oh, he's actually doing good, and then other times I'm like, okay, well, he's being corrupt here, but he's mainly corrupt. But yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio is, solid performance again as Kingpin, and definitely is the best candidate to play Kingpin right now, unless we went back in time and got Michael again. I think
you said Michael. I was thinking like Michael Chiklis, maybe.
No, not Chiklis.
He could have played Kingpin.
He could have played Kingpin, but Green Mile Michael. I can't think of his last name right now.
No, I know Michael.
Yeah, and because I just like his booming voice, and he was big, like freaking jacked big.
Hey, that movie gets a lot of things right despite its flaws. We did on the podcast. I mean, there's they try to. I mean, their biggest issue we talked about before is way too much story in an hour and 45-minute movie.
Yeah,
it's like they try to cram like 6 different Daredevil comic book arcs into one movie. It's like you can't do that.
No, less is more.
Yeah, but there's things that I like about that film. I'm not going to knock on it. We did that we did a whole month where we did a comic movies that just weren't quite right. Is how we taught it or something like that.
Yeah.
And we did that and Green Lantern and Spawn, and that was actually a fun month.
That was a fun month.
I didn't hate any of those movies. I enjoyed the movies we covered.
Because I hadn't seen Spawn ever. And I watched it that month. That was fun.
Yeah, those were fun movies. Man, I need to get into there. Well, I've been slacking so bad with TV. It's PlayStation's fault, man. They come out with like WWE 2K25, and I play that, and
yeah,
I gotta get back into watching some TV shows. Like I haven't even watched the last season of The Boys. That's how much I've slacked. But if it's something I'm really, really into, like The Last of Us, I will watch. And I think with Daredevil, it's like, man, as talked about, it takes so long for these shows to come out sometimes. We got when was the last season of Daredevil? 4 years ago?
Yeah,
something like that.
Season 3.
Yeah, it's hard to maintain. Like we were joking just earlier about Sean Levy being a producer on Stranger Things, and it's like, it's these gaps in between these seasons, man. It's like you try not to lose interest, and they hope that people buy the nostalgic of it and they stick with the show. And I will watch Stranger Things when it comes out, but my God, are these kids going to look like they're 30 years old?
Exactly.
They're not. So I mean, they're not going to stay little and cute forever.
Millie Bobby Brown's already, a freaking grown woman.
Yeah, she has like real tatas now,
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Speaking of that, I saw I know we were talking about photo ops earlier. Apparently there was like a disabled woman that took a photo op with Millie Bobby Brown at a con. And instead of Millie Bobby Brown getting like real close to her, she kind of like, she's barely in the frame. She just kind of like leans over And
Oh,
people were
Lord.
like outraged that she didn't like try and get more comfy with this woman in a wheelchair. And
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one. I can see from a celebrity standpoint, if you don't, you're going to get trashed. But we also forget celebrities are humans too. And unfortunately, people sometimes are uncomfortable around people that are different than them,
Yeah.
And, and that's just the way it is. I mean, it's sometimes can be human nature, and sometimes just you're not comfortable, I mean, around people that are different. And should you be? No, but it's sometimes not easy to get over that if you've not been around it before. So I'll defend her a little. I'll defend her a little bit on that. Do I think she should have stood closer? Yeah, but if she's and maybe I don't know how many cons she's done since she became famous. I mean, maybe she hasn't done a whole lot. It's kind of new to her. She's still getting comfortable. There's a lot of there are actors that are stage fright. They don't like doing panels and speaking in front of people. They're more behind the camera stuff. So I think we forget sometimes they can be very introverted and regular people just like us. They just make a hell of a lot more fucking money than we do.
This is true.
And it's like like when you see these celebrities and they do, like, when there's a disaster like the fires in California or 9/11 or whatever, and they put on these concerts and people are like, well, how come they don't just give their money? I'm like, well, they earn their money too. Nothing says they have to do that.
Yeah.
But then a lot of them do. They do give money through their organizations and stuff like that. But also it's like you ask, well, would you have done it if you had 10 million? Oh, I would have given me more money. Would you have? Really? You earn that money. There's nothing that says you have to give it to. I don't believe that celebrities should take on the world's problems. Now, there are certain billionaires that own at companies like Apple and stuff that I think could do more. Yes. But they don't have to. Again, could they? I think they could do more. Yes. But they don't have to. They earn their money just like anyone else, So I always thought that was an interesting thought that people have. Like, no, they don't really owe you anything, man. That's their money. They earned it. You're the one who chooses to go see their movies to make their salaries what they are, That's just a fact.
Yeah. Just the facts.
I mean, can you flip that around and say, oh, man, it would be nice if they could make sure no people are hungry, no children, and no elderly, and everyone has a place to live. Yeah, it would be, but it's not the way the world works, man, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, man.
I mean, just to put that into perspective, I mean, you put Tom Cruise and Tom Hanks worth next to each other, and you're talking probably a couple $1 billion of worth right there between two people. I mean, just put that in perspective,
Yeah.
But again, it's their money they earned, But then you have people like Taylor Swift, who's a billionaire, and she gives tremendous amounts of money to charities and to organizations and to helping people. And she still gets flack for dating Travis Kelce and being who she is in certain aspects of her life. But Taylor does a lot of good stuff too, so. But,
it's easy to pick out the little things here and there.
Yeah. So we got on this tangent about Miley Bobby Brown. If she didn't feel comfortable standing next to someone who's different than her, it's not okay, but it's okay, if that makes sense, because that is a fan who paid to see her, and she should, but she's still very young. I mean, she's still what, 22, 23, I mean,
early 20s.
So, yeah. So, she's still learning, now if she was 31 and still doing that, okay, hey, you've been doing this a while. So, but man, so yeah, so The Last of Us, Daredevil, some good stuff, Matt. More exciting than that Minecraft movie that I had to watch last week. I'm still hearing about it all week from Chicken Jockey.
My wife brought that up today because she took another family member to go see it, and she's like, I'm sorry you had to sit through that.
Oh, so Jackie had to go suffer too.
Yes.
She knows what your torment was.
She thought it was going to be fun because Jason Momoa was in it, and I said,
well, but
Jack Black, all you got.
But him and Jack Black are the best part of the movie.
Yeah. I said, you kind of just, live in, you're waiting in the moments in between their scenes to kind of
right. You kind of figure out about 20 minutes into the movie, like, okay, I'm just going to have to like blank my mind and just take this for what it is. But the kids love it. Kids really love it. They get it. Us as parents are just like, fuck it. Did I just watch? Oh, man. But yeah. All right. Well, let's get into today's featured film, man. A movie that has Matt, you've long wanted to do this one because it's probably your favorite, Rocky movie. And it is a lot of people's favorite Rocky movie. And it's fair enough because this came out in 1985. Yes. So it was a time in which
Stallone had just done Rambo 2.
Yeah, and the movie industry, man, was just booming, man. You're coming off of Indiana Jones and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi came out that year,
A View to Kill,
Aliens the year before, and Top Gun, and movies were doing really well. I mean, this time, and the Cold War was in full effect. People were looking for patriotism. And Rocky was a very familiar story to people, and so this sold the audiences real well. And it's directed by Stallone, and so it already had a built-in fan base after the first 3 films, and so it did very well at the box office, and people went to see it. And the premise of it,
this was the number one grossing sports film for 25 years until The Blind Side came out. That's how good it did.
Well, that's pretty wild. It's a pretty simple story. Rocky is living life as the champion, and he's doing well for himself. And, so the Russians have this big famous boxer, Drago, and he's talking smack on TV basically. And Apollo wants to challenge him to come out of retirement against Rocky's reservations. He's like, no, you shouldn't do it, Apollo. Just let this chump talk. And Apollo says no. So they set up an exhibition fight in America, in which Apollo comes out to this very extravagant entrance. I mean, it's wild. Even in the movies you're watching this, you're like, wow, this is really crazy. You're like, and it goes on forever, seemingly too. And and Apollo comes out, and then Drago gets in that ring, and he punches Apollo so hard that Apollo's left lying motionless except twitching on the mat, and we get the Drago line, if he dies, he dies. And of course Apollo unfortunately meets his demise in this film, and so Rocky goes on a quest for vengeance and decides to challenge Drago. They only agree to it unless he does it on Russian soil, and he has to he gives up the title, right, which is always thought was kind of weird. Like, why did he have to
vacate his title? So you don't see why, but in the extended version, the Rocky versus Drago cut that came out a few years ago, he actually goes to the boxing council, and it's explained.
Okay. I always thought that was weird in the original cut. I'm like, why does he have to give up his title? I need to check out the extended version. I've heard it's okay. I heard it's not great, but it adds some layers to the film. It
makes the film a more serious film. It takes away some of the fun stuff, like the robot. The robot's not even in it. Yeah. Polly's barely in it. It adds more dialogue with the boxing council, Apollo, and Adrian.
Okay. So I remember from there, he goes to Russia to train, and Drago has all this fancy equipment. He's taking steroids and all this stuff that he's not supposed to do. And Rocky's doing the old-fashioned training. He only takes Duke was his name, and Polly with him. And Adrian doesn't want to go because she doesn't agree with the fight, that she needs to just let it be. And, she tells Rocky, I don't agree with this. So Rocky's out there training the snow and hardcore. And this is the funny thing about Rocky 4 is I think people forget that it's almost 30 minutes of just training. It's like an really long training homage. This movie is basically intro, death of Apollo, set up the plot to get revenge on Drago, 30 minutes of training, then 20 minutes of fighting at the end. It's a very quick movie and a very quickly paced and not a whole lot of development as far as other things go. But we get some of the best training montages ever in film, if we're being honest. And as Rocky trains hard and he learns that Duke was raised by Apollo. I remember that, and he realizes, like, hey man, I have to fight for Apollo. And they set up the match, and of course he fights Drago, and he prevails, of course, and USA, hurrah! And Rocky gives a motivational speech that even has the Russians inspired at the end of the film, and it makes like Rocky's going to end the Cold War, is how the film presents it. And of course, when Adrian does show up in Russia, she decides to show up a few days for the fight to support her husband, which is one great thing about all the Rocky films is the relationship between Rocky and Adrian, which is very important to the films. Even going into the Creed films, it was always important to him, his relationship with her, even after his wife had passed away. And I always thought that was a really important thing for Rocky's character.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as Rocky films go, I like this film, but I don't. It's not my favorite. I mean, Rocky 2 is always gonna be my favorite. I love the second chance, the rematch he gets against Apollo and winning. I think Rocky 2 is just super exciting. And then after that, it's probably Rocky 1, and I'd probably put Rocky 4 behind those two. And when I say Rocky, I'm only counting the original 6. I'm not adding the Creed films in there. And that's kind of where I see on Rocky 4. And I think because when I was younger, I really liked this film a lot. But I think as I got older, I kind of realized like it's really simple, and it's like just a lot of simple. And so I don't appreciate it as much as I did. But I still enjoy the soundtrack
too. The soundtrack.
It's got a very popular soundtrack. It introduced the world of Dolph Lundgren, who, of course, this was his first American film. He would go on to play
his first
He-Man.
major role. Before this, he was in A View to Kill.
Oh, okay, yeah. And his first major role. Then he would go on to play He-Man, of course, and have a much more success in the U.S. after that. I mean, Universal Soldier, which came up in a conversation the other day with someone. It's amazing. I was like, wow, we haven't done Universal Soldier on the podcast, which is kind of wild. And went from there. So Matt, what is it? I know you like this film a lot. It's probably one of your favorite Rockies. And I have a feeling this might have a lot to do with nostalgia for you, being that your age, being 10 years younger.
Yeah. So this was the first Rocky film I had seen, because my dad had brought up, so I forget what we were talking about, but he was talking about working out like Rocky, being out there in the woods and, chopping wood and how he beat Drago. And I was like, man, I need to watch these Rocky films. And I was in high school. And so this was my first Rocky film that I saw. And I just thought it was cool as hell that you had this towering, Russian boxer that did not speak at all. He was very much robotic, cold, no remorse, no emotion. And you had, Rocky, who's a bit smaller, not as much reach, and he's got to take on this Titan. And the fact that this guy was like, he's getting steroid injected kind of goes along with the themes when the Russians invented their steroids, and the U.S. lifting team had to, create Dianabol the following year. And then everybody, loved that after that. And so this just kind of follows the trope that Russians were using that, and he's using all this equipment, and Rocky's just out there treading through the snow in a freaking, hayloft with line, just, freaking doing tricep extensions with a big ass net full of logs and stuff. And he's outrunning the Russians, and Paulie falls in the snow, and he runs up the mountain. Drago, it's just it's iconic, and it's not just iconic to me; it's iconic to a lot of people. The lines, like you said, if he dies, he dies. If I could change, you could change. We all can change. And then just looking up what happened in this film. I mean, it looks good. The fights look good a lot, and that's because
they were really hitting each other.
Drago hit
so much. In fact, Rocky got put into intensive care for a couple of days because he got hit so hard.
7 days.
It was a 7 days. Okay, I knew it was a few days.
He got hit so hard by Dolph Lundgren that his heart bounced up against his rib cage and it swelled. So he had to be in intensive care for 7 days. And Dolph, I guess he was really getting into his role, because during the sparring match with Carl Weathers, he kind of ad-libbed that part where he picks him up and throws him against the ropes. Carl Weathers got pissed and refused. He didn't want to come back and film, and he had to take like a 3-day break, and then he came back and finished out his scenes. But yeah, Dolph, originally he wasn't going to get picked. The producer, one of the producers, casting director, or whoever's doing the casting, thought he was too big. But Stallone said, "You know what? Put on a bunch of muscle, and then come back and let's see what you look like." And he did it. And man, dude, he was
Apparently Arnold helped him train.
Oh, I did not know that. I know, but that makes sense because not Lou Ferrigno, Franco Columbo, trained Stallone. He was his training buddy. And I thought it was smart that Dolph wanted to be. It was Dolph's idea to be quiet. Dolph wanted to be a little bit, less of a talker, because both of Rocky's previous opponents were very talkative, and he wanted to be the opposite of that. And I think it worked out good for his character.
And they almost brought Clubber Lang, Mr. T, back for this film.
Really?
Some word has it that he was going to help train Rocky, as similar to how Apollo trained Rocky in Rocky 3. But then when Apollo died, Clubber came back, and apparently there was some word of that. But there was never been proof of a script that ever existed. But at one point, there was an idea to have Clubber Lang come back for this film.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it would have worked.
Well, I can see how you didn't want it to be the same as the last one. You had Apollo train him, then all of a sudden now you're having his previous fighter train him again. It would have been like the same thing.
Yeah, and he drew. I know he drew inspiration from a German boxer. It was very similar to Dolph's portrayal. And then what you call it? You said something about being the same as the last one. Yeah, so I forget who he talked about, but he liked the theme of you against you, and he brings that up when he's talking to Apollo, and that maybe it's not about fighting the Russian, for reasons why Apollo wanted to go into the ring. It was about him against himself. The themes that Stallone would always reach out to other boxers and ask them about the challenges they face. And I guess one of the themes that he was told was, that sometimes it's you against you out there, that you're your worst enemy. And, Apollo, I guess in this way, my interpretation is he's his own worst enemy because he can't let it go that he's not the same as he was before. Right. And so that's, he goes out there and just dies, gets mauled because he refuses to back down. So he'd rather die than retreat and, give up his pride, I guess. But, we all know that Stallone regrets killing off Apollo in this film, but it served a very important purpose that a lot of Rocky films have, the emotional aspect of it. They follow a similar formula. Some of these franchises, they develop a formula that there's, a challenge, and then an emotional event, and then a big training montage, and then Rocky wins.
Right. Well, and I feel that in Creed 2, where Drago visits Rocky, and they discuss things a little bit and let kind of air out their business, I think it brought the story full circle in some ways, that conversation. And now we had to wait, 30 years for that to happen. But I do think it makes Apollo's death a little bit more, what's the word? I don't want to say meaningful. That's not the right word. Is meaningful the right word? But not as in vain. Maybe not as in vain. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because Drago realized, hey man, I'm sorry. He didn't directly apologize in Creed 2, but he kind of did. He tried to make amends
in his own way.
In his own way. Yeah. And I think it helped that story. We had to wait for it. And speaking of montages, according to calculations, this movie is 31.9% montage overall. That's a third of the film.
Hell
The
yeah,
second
dude.
half of the film, the last 50 minutes, it's almost 50% montage.
Wow.
So yeah, and a lot of that was due to, again, we talked about there was a longer cut. Stallone's cut was almost an hour longer, but the studio cut it down, of course, and I don't think the Rocky versus Drago director's cut's even that long. I think it only adds, from what I've read, it's only about 10, 15 more minutes longer.
No, it's 40 minutes.
Is it that
40
much
minutes.
longer?
Yeah.
I thought it
So
was.
at the beginning of Rocky 4, so a couple things. One thing, the Clubber
It's not
Lang,
streaming anywhere, that version. I think you have to buy it if you want
you have to buy it. I almost bought it. But they double the Clubber Lang fight at the beginning. So, of course, a lot of Rocky films, they start off with the end of the last film. And, and then it goes into the beginning of the actual film. So there's only about 3 minutes of fighting in the original. And in the extended version, there's like 7 or 7.5 minutes of the Clubber Lang fight. And then it cuts out the Russian boxing glove and the American boxing glove knocking. It also cuts out Polly's birthday with the robot, in lieu of more conversations with Adrian on why Apollo feels like he has to fight. There's an emotional scene where he is visualizing Apollo before he fights Drago, and some moments where he's getting ready.
IMDb says it's only an hour and a half long, so it must be a completely just different cut of the film then.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and then of course the boxing council. But yeah, it's it basically changes the tone of the film. Some people like it, some people don't. Some people like the stuff with Rocky's kid in there, which is also cut out. The stuff with the robot and some of the lighter stuff with Polly is cut out. But yeah, other than that, it's it's just a tone change. It makes the film a little serious.
Right. Might have to. I am curious about it. I've always been curious about director's cuts and different versions of films, and I think I'm gonna have to track it down and try to watch it one day. I think it's probably still available. Yeah, I have to rent it and watch it one day. Check it out on the old Voodoo account, and it's interesting. It never went streaming anywhere, but
you figured it would.
You think it would be available? It's strange. None of the Rocky movies are actually streaming right now. They're usually always on either HBO Max or Netflix or something. But like right now, none of them are streaming anywhere. It's weird.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Maybe it's one of those weird months where they're just not available, and the next month they'll be available.
I wanted to. I first went to HBO Max when I was going to watch it, but I ended up, of course, coming up short and went to my Vudu where I have all of them, and went ahead and just watched it there.
Yeah, see, I've got them on Blu-ray, and then your Amazon account doesn't link all your Vudu movies, and for some reason I don't have I need to get your Vudu back on my PlayStation. For some reason, the password, Vudu kicks it out every now and then.
Oh yeah.
So you need to send that back to me so I can get it back on my PlayStation. That's how we do these things, people. We help each other out with our Vudu.
You got to share, dude.
Watch these movies for you people. But man, Rocky IV though is Rocky IV is a pretty solid film overall, man. Like I said, not my favorite, and when I say that, man, like the first 4 Rocky films are all kind of like pretty enjoyable in their own ways. I can kind of intertransfer them and like them all a bit. I just think I like Rocky II a little bit better than 1, 3, and 4 are all kind of interchangeable for me. I like all of them in their own ways.
Yeah.
But it's a good franchise, always has been. And, but it is also a franchise I feel after Creed 3 that I did enjoy Creed 3, but I think it's time to let it rest. And I think I haven't heard any movement on Creed 4. So maybe maybe they're realizing it's time to let this be, Rocky has sailed into the sunset. They never say it, but we assume the cancer finally got him going into Creed 3, and maybe it's time to just let it go.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. But good stuff, man. So next week or the week after, if we take a break, which in all likelihood it looks like we're headed that way, which is okay because I think we need a break. And We are going to cover a film directed by Robert Rodriguez. Yeah, he directed the second one, right? I better
believe so.
I better fact check that. I'm pretty sure he directed both of them. We already covered the first one, and we just never got around to the sequel because the sequel, honestly, is not as good, but it's still got pretty good moments. Let's see. Yeah, Frank Miller and one other. Yeah, Robert Rodriguez. Yeah. So Robert Rodriguez, we're going to come back and we're going to talk the second Sin City film, Sin City: A Dame to Kill For, which, unlike the first film, which tells 3 different Sin City comics, all told into one interweaving story, in the sequel route they choose just to tell the story of one of the comics. Which it's funny because the book is really good, and then when I saw the movie adaptation, I'm like, this could have been better, than because the Dame to Kill For, the book is excellent, but it's still pretty fun in its own ways. It feels very much like a sequel that maybe they made because the first one made a lot of money and Robert Rodriguez's heart wasn't in as much as the second one. But we'll talk about that all next week whenever we talk about Sin City: A Dame to Kill For. And this movie, I'm pretty sure, is streaming on a couple different services like Netflix and stuff, I believe. I can check that right now. Let's see. Yeah, it's on Prime Video, Pluto TV, Stars, Tubi. Yeah. The first one's not available streaming anywhere. The second one's available plenty of places. So easy to watch along with us as we talk Sin City: A Dame to Kill For next week on the show, or in 2 weeks, I should say. The rubberradiopodcast.com for all your Rubber Radio needs. And as you wait for us to take our break and get back, go listen to some episodes you might have missed. There's lots of them, plenty of episodes to listen to. Until then, stay safe out there. We thank you for listening. This has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
Remember, as always, just go there and do it.